Tonight should be good. It is you and I tonight, and a couple of really hot topics to discuss. I want to talk about some ethical dilemmas that pop up around the, every once in a while we get the topic of resurrecting extinct animals, extinct species, gets reintroduced into the public sphere there, and I want to talk about that because it also links with something else that has been pretty, it's been debate worthy recently, and that is of IVF. Okay, IVF. I would love to talk about that because I didn't know about all of the ethical objections to IVF until recently. And I know that there's going to be a real mix of opinions out there in the audience, and I hope that they all come through. I want a mix of it. I'll be taking calls from people through the phone line, 914-200-0269. I'll get that up on the screen. Just call on in whenever we get into the middle of it. I have some things to read to you first. I'll also be taking in calls from the Discord. Tomorrow night, we will not have John Barber on with us. He's taking care of some family matters, and I hope everything works out well for him. But in the meantime, Jay Gulanello is going to be coming in. We're going to be talking about showbiz and some other things that are going on in the news and longevity stuff. And I think it'll be good. We're going to read through all of your positive celebrity encounters. Jay has quite a few of them, actually. I'm sure Zoso Dude will be calling in that night. But that'll be tomorrow night, Friday. And then also remember, Saturday night is a Saturday night special with my father, with my cousin Jeff, with my brother. He'll be here. My mother will be on the couch just hanging out and listening to everything. But that'll be another one, another good one on Saturday night. I don't know how long it goes for, what we even talk about, but these are just the conversations that I want on the record with people in my life so I can look back on them for all time. And you guys just get to hang out with me as well. So there you go. Thank you for all of that. What else do I have for you on this end of the pre-show over here? Anything else I wanted to tell you? No, I think that's it. Outside of this, please, ladies and gentlemen, go and read the Quite Frankly Bulletin for March. I have the latest edition is always linked in the description of the episode. You can go on quitefrankly.tv. You can go to articles tab up top and drop down, and there's the entire archive for the bulletin. But it is a wonderful March St. Patty's Day themed bulletin this month. It really, truly is. A little bit of a look ahead of what we're going to be doing with Film Club in April. After we're done reading The Big Fisherman this month with Book Club. That's it. James Stewart, Grace Kelly, Rear Window. That's going to be a good one. Become a sponsor and watch this with us or talk about it with us. You have to watch it on your own because I don't have the rights to the movies. But you know what? You have 3 weeks to watch a movie. It's very, very doable. It's very fun, and it's all get done in one shot. So there's that. Lots of other behind the scenes stuff going on. We've got great recipes that are in there, including this Luck of the Irish Mimosa. I need to try that sometime this month. Krista put this one together. Slancha. The other thing we have is an Archaeology Exposed article by Michael Collins of Wandering Wolf. So this is a really good one. This one in particular got passed around on Twitter quite a bit and has stirred up some controversy because, of course, you never knew that archaeology circles are they're very, very testy people. So I've been able to watch that all happen, all circling around this one article. And Michael Collins has already said he's excited to give us little correspondent hits along the way as he travels the world and sees other big sites. What else do we have? Oh, I'll be saving this one for the end of next week. And this is from Jeremy Ryan Slate. The Ides of March, Bloodbath, Caesar's Fall, and the Power Lesson We Can't Unlearn. So these are all exclusives right here and many, many more. Much, much more stuff in there. Did you knows? A look back. Vintage, frankly. Lent and Holy Week. Did you knows? Everything. So go check it out. That has been made public ever since December, and really take advantage of it. It's just something we're very proud of, and it's Yeah, more of that in the future. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? Into the grab bag we go. First one up is from the Wall Street Journal. Draft of Trump executive order aims to eliminate the education department. Secretary Linda McMahon would be directed to take all necessary steps to facilitate the closure. President Trump is expected to issue an executive order as soon as Thursday. I didn't see that today. Aimed at abolishing the education department, according to people briefed on the matter. A draft of the order, viewed by the Wall Street Journal, directed Education Secretary Linda McMahon to, quote, take all necessary steps to facilitate the closure of the education department, end quote, based on the, quote, maximum extent appropriate and permitted by law, end quote. The order has been in the works since Trump's transition. In early February, the Journal reported the administration's officials were considering such a move. The experiment of controlling American education through federal programs and dollars, and well, it's not federal dollars. They're our dollars. The federal government has no dollars. That's the issue. And the unaccountable bureaucrats those programs and dollar support has failed our children, our teachers, and our families. The draft order reads, the draft reviewed by the Journal was labeled as pre-decisional, suggesting it could change. Now, I'd love to have another little bit of a constitutional roundup, a procedural roundup with someone like Chrisanne Hall to talk about, okay, on an executive front, what can be done to do away with this, and then what needs to be done to seal the door shut. Because this, of course, like so many other things, you're contending with a split culture. Like so many other things, this is taken on as something that is a cherished institution. It's tradition. It's a break from tradition. It's a, cherished institutions, of course, that are less, not even, popped up in the 20th century, mid to late 20th century. So it doesn't matter how new it is. It's a mind game. It's a Department of Education, and you're shutting it down, which means it must be anti-education. That's what the simpleton hears in their head. So my question is, because what can be done or undone through executive fiat, the opposite could happen. How is this made permanent in any way, shape, or form? Does there have to be a lawsuit? Does there have to be some kind of court opinion that helps change? I don't know. I don't know, because I like hearing things like this. I want stuff like this to happen and for it to be never revisited again. But again, what happens in 14 years if a Democrat, big progressive, gets in again and just makes the department again? I don't know. So I want to talk about that procedurally. So we're gonna have to do that sometime soon. But here's a little bit more on I wanted to do a little bit more of this. Our good friend Libs of Reddit on Instagram, they do the hard work that it's very hard to be on Reddit. Every once in a while, I'll go and just skim through Reddit. Maybe once every couple of months. I don't even know why I have the app on my phone anymore. But Libs of Reddit really gets down into the worst of the worst. And here is just the little spot of the night from the Libs of Reddit on Instagram. This is under the Something is Wrong 2024 subreddit. CNN has gone full traitor, they say. Okay? Full traitor. Why? Because CNN had the nerve to not be able to avoid showing that new data is insinuating that fewer Americans consider Russia an enemy. CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton looks at new polling that shows a major shift in how Americans view the war between Russia and Ukraine. And of course, the absolute mongrels on Reddit have lost their mind. You got to see some of these comments. This video is 100% Russian propaganda, and I don't believe these polls for 1 second, says Miss Money Sterling. CBS Meet the Press said Dump had a 53% approval rating 2 Sundays back. If he had 53% of the people that voted for him, I'd be shocked. Dump meaning Trump. They think, listen, it goes into 53%. They forget, they don't know anything. And again, here's a question I'll continue to ask. And we've asked it on the Telegram and a couple of big provocative posts over the last couple of months. Should people like this be able to vote? Be allowed to vote? Well, Frank, what's the metric? Frank, what's the barrier to entry? Frank, this is very controversial. How do you figure that out? I don't know. But I know that there are far too many people in this country who can vote that shouldn't be allowed to. They talk about existential crisis, one thing or another. They are the existential threat to polite society. I'm sorry. I'm not in charge. Nothing I say becomes policy, and I don't even know what policy would be necessary. But I just got there are people who should not be allowed to vote. You wouldn't put a child behind the steering wheel of a car. Why would you put retarded children like this behind the steering wheel of a nation? Now, of course, like I said, we have a split in the culture, which also means a split in reality. That's how to the core of the culture the split is, where it's just even basic common sense, and what we're all seeing, we see different things. It's kaleidoscopic. They would say the same thing about us. And what do you do? I guess we can pick that one apart. Here's a little bit more. Let's see what else they're saying. Mama Daddy, God knows what they like on Reddit. Mama Daddy says, this will be a litmus test for discovering which media is compromised.
The compromised media.
Have they been compromised? Have they said that what we are doing is unpopular? That our favorite people are the people that we hate the most are actually very popular right now? Here's another one for you. CNN has been Fox Light for a minute now. 610 upvotes. Someone responded to that, which is crazy because most of the people there are turning to the right or still see it as left-wing liberal news and hate it and won't watch it because of that. I don't know what they're saying. Reminder, here's another reminder. Reminder, CNN's current owner, John Malone, praised Fox for how it delivered news and wanted to see a shift toward that style since acquiring it. He also donated to Trump in the past and supported fellow billionaire conservative Michael Bloomberg. Getting real tired of billionaire wankfest. Eat the rich, says think before you pink. Here's another one. Wait, this is great. Hold on, wait. Look at this one. That's not correct. The Fox Corporation is totally separate from Warner Brothers Discovery. Both are publicly traded companies. And then a response to that little tiny correction is the pedantic points don't matter. Follow the money. Well, they just told you where the money comes from, where it goes. Where does it go? I don't know. It's just so funny to read all this stuff. And some other times it's very infuriating. Here's a nice little collage that we put up on the Telegram of all the types of accounts, some with very, very large followings, that are laughing at that Peyton McNabb girl that was at the State of the Union or wherever it was. But it was the story about her getting a brain bleed at a volleyball game that she was competing at because she was playing against another girl's team with a man on it. And the ball got spiked so hard into her head that she had a brain injury. The people laughing at her, the people on the left laughing at a girl for being bludgeoned by a boy in the middle of a girls' athletic event. Again, who are they? And how do you strip them of basic civil rights? This is terrible. I know. Frank, this is not very libertarian of you. All you have to do is outvote them. No. This is not a policy. This is not a, hey, I think that we should fund the Department of Education. There's plenty of Republicans out there who think, no, we need the Department of Education. They would be on the same side as, some moderate Democrat there too. There'd be there's differences between everybody. Should the Department of Education be out there? Should people who laugh at girls that have had their brains injured by boys in girl sports, is that somebody who should enjoy a full complement of civil civil rights? I don't think so. But again, the problem is, how do you identify that person? And it's a system that I don't want to have to be in charge of creating. I just know what bubbles up inside of me when I see this. I say, this is an animal. It's not a person. Animals shouldn't vote. Neither should this person. I don't know. They're very inarticulate emotional thoughts that pop up inside of me from time to time. Do you not feel it? Does all of your patriotic fervor leave you and you say, you know what? We had to fight long wars to be able to establish a codified rule of law and a way of doing things and a polite society, semi-polite society that could hold itself together and everybody at least shared most of the same, some feeling grasping onto decorum. Now we're not there anymore. So where does it all go? Who knows? But just some thoughts off the top of the dome for you tonight. And let's get started, shall we? Because I have some big things to throw your way. It's quite frankly, it's the end of the pre-show. And yes, let's get going.
And how you doing, little partner?
Walker told me I have AIDS.
Well, pardon my French, but I'll be damned.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Everybody in the audience loves scientists, but tonight I guess we don't need one for tonight because we can just talk about the ethical issues, morality and ethics that really hang over both of the main topics that we have on tap. And again, to call into the show, it is 914-200-0269. We're also going to be taking calls on the topic through Discord, so you can go and check it out. So please be a part of it. This is going to require you for any of this to work. So if you've never done it before, I would love to hear a lot of first-time callers. That would be fantastic. And for all of you vets, you can show the little guys, the newbies, how it's all done. Here's the first thing up. I saw this on, what is this? Forgot where it is, MSN, something like that. It's been covered all over the place. Major step in the return of the Mammoth. Been talking about the return of the Mammoth since at least as far as I can remember. I remember a lot of this popping up in the 1990s that all culminated with what was going on in 1997 when they cloned that sheep Dolly. Poor Dolly led a very sickly life. I think a lot of different types of problems and I think all the genetic arthritis and other things that were going on with Dolly gave a lot of people pause. The public opinion of all that in the coverage of Dolly's physical problems was not very positive. But then again, like most things, they say a major step in the return of the Mammoth. Do you think the Mammoth has not returned? Do you think that we have not in some bunker or a series of deep underground military bunkers that we have not created the most nightmare-inducing chimeric creatures you could have ever thought, mixing human with animals and fish and God knows what else? So just keep that in mind. You can call and say, Frank, it's all been done. They're just trying to get us ready for all the hellhounds that are going to be released soon. Montauk has nothing on this. Anyway, look at this shaggy-ass mouse over here. All right? Woolly mammoths are a step closer to roaming the world again after scientists engineer a woolly mouse. It may be on a much smaller scale, but they are hailing it as evidence that they can tweak the necessary genes to bring back the ancient ancestor of modern elephants. De-extinction company Colossal Biosciences previously set out their ambition to return 3 animals long gone from the planet. They said they hope to see the first mammoth calf born to an elephant mother in 2028. And now they've hit a milestone on the way. The woolly mouse has been engineered to have faster growing, thicker hair than most. Can you do this for men? I'm totally fine with being bald, by the way. I got over that a long time ago. Thankfully, I have a good shaped head. I'm fine with it. But can you stop with the woolly mouse? All right? Come on. Anybody else out there agree? Please. We need to have more men with flowing locks. Give us our curls back, damn it. Damn mice has a better head of hair than me. I'm not jealous. Fucking mouse. Not jealous in this fucking mouse. I know what you're thinking. Photos of it held next to a standard gray loser mouse with no flowing locks. Photos of it held next to a standard gray loser mouse show that this is certainly the case, with the new version sporting a luscious mane. That could be in a hair ad. Okay, well, screw you. See, that wasn't me. That was the author taunting all of us. The company's founder, Ben Lamb, told Metro it's not about bringing them back for the sake of it because they have cool tusks. He's talking about the mammoth. He said it's forecast that we are going to lose up to 50% of all biodiversity between now and 2050. So we are in the 6th mass extinction that has been driven by man. It's really important to acknowledge that how conservation works in that respect. It just doesn't work at the speed which we are changing the planet and eradicating species. So anthropomorphizing, we're talking about men destroying the planet again. And of course, this is, we need to play God. At least this is what this guy over here is saying. We need to be able to play God to bring back species that were gone, because I mean, it's crazy that there are species that go extinct every day, and there's new species that are discovered as well. And this is just something that is, I learned about a long time ago, that 50% of all biodiversity between now and in 2050 is going to be gone. Yeah, and what takes its place is the question. But you see, this is more of the climate change stuff that is being, it's at least for these people. That's what I'm talking about. I do believe that, maybe there is something out there, some reason why you would want to clone a something or other from, 5,000 years ago. I have no clue what you found in the ice somewhere. And maybe it would, that one thing would give you some answers about, I don't know, but it would be divorced from all of this interstellar kind of, we need to save the human race with science or else we're all screwed. And here comes the blight kind of stuff. So I already don't like the premise of the whole thing. It's really important to acknowledge that conservation works. Yeah, it does work. Plant some trees. Let's clean up the oceans. Let's actually hold countries accountable for the pollution that they are known for. Asia and Africa, what they have done with those floating plastic barges out, like in the size of Hawaii worth of plastic that's coming down the Yellow River and all that shit. I mean, can we hold people who are actually polluting the world accountable? pollution does need to be addressed. It does. We should take care of our home. But, you know, they come from a very centralized, hitting you over the head kind of religious approach to the whole thing. So it's showing up over here as well. All right, let's see here. The idea that is that by learning how to engineer DNA from lost creatures, it will be possible to restore Earth one species at a time with possibilities, also to support endangered species which are not yet extinct. So then why don't you just support those species right now and get into, and it's all very, I don't know. So we'll get away with it now. How did they do this? And then we're going to go into all the ethical concerns. Just we'll pretend that the people behind the projects are 100% well-meaning. How did they do this? Colossal said that they looked at the genomes of 59 mammoths, including woolly, Columbian, and steppe, ranging from 3,500 to over 1.2 million years old, to decide on their genetic targets. The team that examined elephant genomes too, including Asian and African elephants, to identify significant genes that impact hair and other cold adaptation traits. They focused on genes in which mammoths had evolved fixed differences compared to their closely related Asian elephant cousins. After this, they refined the list to include 10 genes related to hair length, thickness, texture, and color, as well as lipid metabolism that were compatible with expression in a mouse. The team then edited the mouse genome using 3 editing techniques simultaneously: RNP, mediated knockout, multiplex precision genome editing, and precision homology directed repair, HDR. And this success takes us one step closer to our goal of bringing back the woolly mammoth. And they would like to see a calf born of an elephant by 2028. So what do you think? I'm going to leave open the lines on this. We'll talk about this just a little bit before we start moving on to more human issues with IVF. And while I leave the lines open, I am going to get into a little bit of what I have pulled together on the ethical objections to cloning extinct animals. Now, I collected some of my own thoughts, also grabbed some stuff from prior episodes we did on this, and also from Grok, which has been very useful in organizing notes for me recently. So take a listen to this. First and foremost, we have playing God, unnatural interference. Critics argue that bringing back extinct species interferes with the natural order. Extinction is a natural process, and reversing it through human technology might overstep ethical boundaries, prioritizing human curiosity or power over nature's course. Yes. No doubt about it. In fact, I mean, this one scientist said that they need to manually override nature's course, because apparently nature's course is not coursing anymore. Then you have animal welfare. Cloned animals could suffer from health issues due to imperfect cloning techniques. For example, the early cloning efforts like Dolly showed problems such as premature aging and organ defects. Extinct species with no living templates to refine the process might endure even worse outcomes, raising questions about the morality of creating life destined for suffering. And again, if you think that there's not some nightmarish chimeric creatures that are suffering in some fish tank somewhere a mile or two under the surface, and God knows how many locations around the world where we do all of our outsourcing, I'm sure some of it happens here too. But damn. Ecosystem disruption. Reintroducing extinct species could destabilize current ecosystems. These animals evolved in contexts that no longer exist. Modern habitats, predators, prey, and climates have changed. For instance, bringing back the passenger pigeon might overburden food sources and spread diseases to species unprepared for their return. Hell, I mean, you guys have probably seen some of those documentaries all over the place about what adding or subtracting an apex predator from an area can do to the entire landscape, like removing the wolves from, one national park or another, and how it allowed the the deer to run wild and eat all of the grass along the riverbanks. And of course, there was nothing there to prevent soil erosion because so much of the greenery was eaten away by these very comfortable animals that no longer have any predators breathing down their necks. And that changed the course of so many things, including how the rivers flowed. I know that just too by what beavers do. What beavers do to certain to wherever the hell they hang out. I thought that was so incredible to see all the lakes and the ponds and the really significant bodies of water that were created by beavers up in Acadia National Park when we visited it for the first time. But yeah, where are they going to be? Jurassic Park? We know how that ended. Resource allocation. The significant funding and scientific effort required for de-extinction could divert resources from conserving still living endangered species. Good. Yeah, right. I know. They're so concerned about endangered species that they're like, they're not worth saving. Let's bring back let's bring back an entire species that's already been gone for thousands of years based on some pieces of genetic code that we found that we can splice with a mouse somewhere, instead of a complete specimen that's still on the earth. Let's take some calls, shall we? From Hawaii, 808. What's going on?
What's up? Are you still talking about endangered species?
I am. We're talking about endangered species and bringing back the extinct species.
Yeah, well, I've worked with people who do that, and it's incredible the amount of work that goes into it and money that goes to waste in that. You know, like I worked with people who were trying to bring back birds, and they would spend over $1 million a bird, this extinct crow. And then they tried to release them, and the hawks ate them.
Oh, man.
And then it was like, well, there went all that money for waste, so they moved it to a different place where there's no hawks. And then they tried to blame it on the white man bringing bird flu and disease to the island. It was ridiculous.
So, Glenn, your name is Glenn?
No.
Okay. Well, what I have for you here, or what I want to ask you is, you have friends that work in the resurrection business, or were they in on trying to save species that were still technically around, but in such small numbers that they were dwindling, or did they actually engage in some of this resurrection stuff?
They were, I guess not really resurrections. They're beyond critically endangered, and they're considered extinct because there's none in the wild. And so they were trying to re-release them back into the wild, and realized why they were going extinct to begin with was they were being outperformed by other native species in the area.
See, there's another. That's just what I'm talking about. There's more in here about that, and I think that's such a something that is so short-sighted. Some people, but I have to imagine when you're thinking about, now obviously you know your friend, and perhaps you know a little bit about their more noble intentions. But when we hear about these larger projects to bring back the mammoth, it's one thing to say, there are certain flocks of birds that were native to our island over here. We want to try to bring them back, or fluff up their numbers a little bit more. But for somebody to want to bring back the mammoth, to be able to bring more biodiversity to the earth, it just sounds absolutely ridiculous on the face of it. Why don't you just concentrate on the Asian and the African elephant and the rhinoceros out there? Why do we have to bring back one of their ancient ancestors that have no utility anymore?
That is 100% true. And it's exactly what you had said, that you agree with conservation and we should be taking care of our planet. And people are just ignoring the biggest problems, trying to focus on these stupid things that are extinct for a reason. Obviously, nature just didn't need them anymore. That's why they disappeared millions of years ago. Instead, they're ignoring, like, we have a problem with people illegally dumping things here all over the place, all their garbage, because there's a schedule where the waste transfer stations are closed. Like, how's about focusing on the pollution that is happening right here, right now, that's going to kill things later on down the line or poison us?
When you say people are dumping things where you are you talking about the the surrounding waters of your island and like ships?
Yes, there's that, and there's I mean, just on land in general, any back road you go into is just mountains of garbage at the end of the roads, and it's just, I mean, focusing on things like that, even, you know, illegal dumping of chemicals and just garbage in general. How about we focus on things that are happening right here, right now, instead of spending billions of dollars of our tax money towards these projects that are most likely going to fail. And it's really just people justifying their grants to get money for their job, and which I understand, you know, everybody needs a job, but it's like it's they're not really focusing on saving the planet. It's just ridiculous.
Well, you know, the other thing I often consider is how many times people, even young people, who have come up with really incredible ideas that could either clean large patches of ocean or can you know, create a filter for one thing or another that is low cost, that is really innovative, and that would be a really nice privately funded solution where everybody can go out there and again contribute to the betterment of the planet without having to have it all be attached to some centralized government driven push that always turns into something that is political in nature, that is tyrannical in nature, wasteful, filled with fraud and all that stuff. I think that if we can just find ways of letting individuals, to empower individuals to act and to put their ideas to use, there would be such incredible things happening on this planet, because government would finally be out of the way of the individual, which we move much faster and more intelligently than any government ever could. So thank you for bringing all this to the show tonight, sir.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, I have worked with people that do that as well. There's a Hawaii Wildlife Fund that I've worked with where they got grants to develop ways to extract microplastics from the sand. And it was college students that were just trying out their projects and figuring out how to actually float the plastics up out of the sand. And out of a 5-gallon bucket, you would get about 1/3 of it to float.
Wow.
It's insane.
Wow.
So, I mean, some people are doing that. It's just not on a scale that would really make a dent in the amount. Like you were saying, the Pacific Gyre that's the size of Texas, you know, floating pile of garbage. Like,
yeah.
Why don't we start working on that?
Yeah, we should start working on that. We should also start holding. Not only should we go out there and put some of our brain power to use on how to get that out of the ocean, but then we should also essentially charge India and other parts of Asia for creating that situation. We should charge them through tariffs. Say, hey, listen, you know
Absolutely.
what? You know, we're cleaning up the ocean on your behalf. So go ahead and continue, you know, shitting in your rivers and all that stuff, and disposing your plastic in these rivers that go out into the Indian Ocean and then out to the Pacific and everything else like that. And you keep doing what you're doing, and we're going to keep raising the tariffs because we're cleaning it up. But it's necessary.
And that actually be kind of easy, because if you go to these places like certain beaches where on the windward side of islands where the currents hit and the garbage piles up along the beach, it actually has the labels on most of it and the prints. So it shows where the garbage is coming from even. So it'd be kind of easy to narrow that down to target who to define, I guess you could say, or strap heavier tariffs on. Well, it's possible. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, hey, listen, you know, it seems like a good time for some ideas, new ideas to be thrown into the mix, and why not? We might as well speak it out loud. Maybe somebody's watching, you know?
Yeah, you never know. And Frank, I love the show, man. We watch you every single day, and man, just keep on going, man. This is great.
Well, please keep calling in, because I think it's just miraculous that I could be sitting over here in Westchester, New York, and receive a call from thousands of miles away in real time, and have it be a wonderful call. And that's a wonderful gap bridged. And thanks again for being a part of it.
It sure is, man. You take care.
All right, take care.
Hello to all the Franklies out there.
You hear that? You hear that, everybody? Greetings from Hawaii. And something else too. We are in a time right now where there's been nothing but exposure of one thing or another with these Doge audits. We're talking about hundreds of billions just off the top. Social Security, there's an implication that there may be at least $1 trillion a year that could be taken off the top of that without affecting anybody's payments. Perhaps you can actually give them a little bit more. Imagine that. It also has to be sunsetted out. We should take care of the boomers. We should take care of half of Generation X. I'm totally fine with millennials at this point having to say goodbye to. Maybe we just get like a one lump sum. Give us like $20,000 each. That's all. $20,000 each for things that we put in, and so we can go and throw that into a Roth IRA or something like that. Maximum contributions. That's what I think. It has to go. But let's think about what we've been seeing, the numbers we've been dealing with, even the small ones. President Trump just the other night at the State of the Union was talking about millions, tens of millions, sometimes 100 million plus at these ridiculous, obscene programs that don't even go to benefit Americans, not in a national security sense, not in a geographical sense, nothing. Can you imagine not only all that money is back in people's hands or our hands, but can you imagine if some of that money actually just went to everyday people with great ideas that can go and apply for some kind of a grant through like the Copyright or Trademark Office or something like that and say, I want to clean up the oceans. I have an idea. I just think if all that money was back where it belongs and people were doing better on their own independently, it'd be so much easier to inspire everybody to give to really awesome initiatives that could actually benefit the earth. That's why we always talk about this with welfare too. You take from people, you take away the essence of charity. You have to, and then what? People give less because they have less to give because they're being stolen from. We're being stolen from. Our money's being devalued. It goes into everything, including the earth and all these people who are concentrating on bringing back extinct birds and elephants in order to do what nature is. It's on autopilot. Nature's on autopilot for shit like this. So what's the real motive behind it all? Ultimately, what's the real motive? The lines are still open. Let's take some more. 517, you're on the air. Go ahead.
No way. Yes way.
Yes.
Hey, this is Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Real quick.
Hey, wait, Mark. I emailed you a couple of times. I'm happy to hear from you, but I've been trying to book you.
Go ahead.
I said I've been trying to book you.
Oh, I know. It's been a very bad week and a half.
Okay.
That's the only problem. We'll talk about that off the air. You're on the right track, number one, but let's remind everybody of something with Social Security. Social Security is an isolated account. It is not for the public fare. It is literally an insurance package you have increments of investment in. If you think about the numbers that they told you about. You've got 1-some million people who are over 129 years old, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's what we're being told.
Think about this. How much, do you know what the average payment is for a person on Social Security per month?
Like 600, I don't know, 600, 1,200?
About $1,600. We'll put that as the medium. Okay, for everybody out there, grab your calculator off to the side of your computer screen and do $1,600 times 1.8 million. That's just one category of 5 that he quoted, right? Guys, look at the math and how much money that is for 1.6, 1.8, it was 1.4 million people who do not exist. And every month, $1,600 times that quantity has been leaving the account. But who does it go to? When you're talking about these numbers, you're talking industrial commercial fraud. You're talking such a high crime against what is a commerce account. Let's understand, Social Security is not part of everything else in the tax system. It's an isolated, separate tax. It is actually not a tax. We all know better. They put a gun to your head and take the money, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But look at the numbers for just 1 month. Now, understand, they've been telling you that Social Security is bankrupt. You probably have not paid attention because you don't need to worry about it right now. But they told us.
No, I've been seeing that. We've been covering that for a long time on the show, actually, where they're very outward about how they're taking loans out to make the payments. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Mark, and I don't want to drift too far off subject for the evening. I understand Social Security just came up, but we're talking about misallocation of funds that can go towards something that's a little bit more germane to the topic here. But go ahead and conclude with that. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to finish up real quick as I get out of your way. The idea here is that that money would stay in Social Security, and virtually every party who has a contract wouldn't be bumped, didn't need to be bumped, and you would still have the surfeit that you should have in place so that when you get to that age, the money would be there. If you take the fraud accounts out of the formula, this money can't go to anybody else. It can't go to, say, fixing parks. It can't go to helping out a kindergarten school. The money is specifically allocated. That was the purpose behind it. It was anchored. Now, if it weren't for the fraud, the Social Security system, which was locked in so they couldn't steal from it, as you said, they illegitimately did loans, would be sufficient not only to deal with my generation, but any up-and-coming generation, if you get rid of the fraud. If you have people, and by the way, do you think that, let's think about this. Do you think that the people who are committing fraud with these accounts, because it's people, it's a person, it's not 1 million people cheating on you. It's a commercial venture of fraud through bookkeeping to take the money out of the account, okay? If you eradicate that fraud, the system is completely viable and doesn't need to pay out anymore. I'll guarantee that the payouts are not, with these accounts, $1,600. They're probably at the maximum possible account drawable, probably $4,000 to $6,000 per. Now you multiply that times 1.6, and then the other one's 1.2 million people, and none of these people exist. Do you think? Have you met anybody 129 years old yet? I haven't. I've been working at it. I'd like to find one.
Not yet.
Yet there's a million of them out there. We should have theoretically run into one of them.
At some point. I think we have a couple of members of Congress that are about that age.
Well, yeah, I think they're just, that's the satanic pedo meat puppets. I know. Anyway, I just want to bring that up. I didn't want to take too much of your time, but remember that for everybody out there, that Social Security can sustain itself. It's still socialist. Let's make no mistake about it. But with the mechanism that was presented, and if you keep everybody honest, then the machine would continue to function, but they don't want to do that. All of this is culminating in another agenda. And we can talk about that if I want to get back up with you. But for the time being, keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing great work.
But wait, Mark, before you leave,
doing great work.
Well, before you leave, I want to ask you about the actual topic here tonight, because I have to imagine you'd have something interesting to say about that too. And that is when you consider the machinations of government, especially what is not seen, what has no oversight. What do you think about the motives behind continuing to reintroduce this idea of resurrecting the mammoth over the last 35, 40 years in the media? I have to imagine that something far more complex than that has already been achieved. So what do you first goes through your mind when you hear about stuff like extinct animals coming back?
Well, if you can desensitize everybody first to the idea of slaves, and the phase one with that would be the robotics, then inevitably organics are going to be introduced, and the way to do that is by destroying the culture of the human genome being sacred, or being of a higher order. You can then create de jure, let's just say, marketable individuals that aren't individuals. Therefore, if they don't have a soul, they're no different from the robot. First of all, you've got everybody believing you don't have a soul to begin with, and we're all computer programs. Okay, that's a great start. You add robotics, which of course means that, you kind of see this in what is the program, Orville. Remember the Orville with the one character is a robot, and you get the backstory, and it turns out they were all slaves to the population that made them. and so they executed everybody on the planet. Well, at a given point, if you have something like that take place with the robotics, which is going to happen because you're going to have problems with the AI having no conscience, then the next step, or at least a parallel program, would be the chimeras, which could be used as inexpensive and expendable, corpses, walking, flesh, but corpses that can be created at your discretion. Also, some of the most bizarre fantasies of the sycophants of our society could be employed too.
Yes.
They like getting us killed off in wars, but what if you have a piece of property that's been created genetically, and it could look like a cross between you and the baby woolly mammoth, or you and, well, the other thing they just talked about is bringing back the Neanderthal. They are seriously talking about that, which means that they probably have already done it. Okay, all of these things, when they're telling you or proposing, they're trying to figure out how to market and forgive me for all you people who are younger, a shit pie. They're trying to, present you with a shit pie, and they're trying to make it palatable. The problem is that in working into the mix is that once you've got everybody culturally accepting the idea of either mass suicide or arbitrary execution, it's only a matter of time before you get served up on that platter as part of the formula.
Oh, great, really great points.
That's not.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? You have to do it incrementally. The robot you can switch off. The robot, if you were to have a Butlerian jihad kind of situation, now everybody knows about Dune. I've read Dune back when it came out, and all of the progressive works, and plus the independent works that were done by Herbert. Well, the Butlerian jihad was because of the very subject you're now talking about with AI and with robotics. And in the process of the war, the robotics were destroyed. But here's the thing. What was the replacement for that? Anybody ever read Dune? The replacement were the Talaxian. What were the Talaxian? They were vat breeders of organic slaves. Now, it turns out, if you know the whole story, there was a lot more evil involved with that as far as what the breeding, what the vats were. In reality, they were women who were coached into or recruited into becoming the genetic manufacturing plants. But to get there, you've got to have a whole lot of other crises. And remember, you're dealing with very wicked and evil people who have everything I'm talking about. I'm sure that they've had all kinds of wet dreams about in the process. If we can figure it out, they've already thought of it. At least since they have the money and the resources.
Absolutely. And now we know why the resources were endless. When you have there's an industrial level theft going on that's been going on for generations. There's never any lack of funds, that's for sure. And and there's already plenty of really interesting and scary theories about what maybe some of these Optimus robots could be all about, and why a lot of elites have been finding themselves some really nice parking spots on in mountain ranges, or also underground on certain islands on the world. There's a lot of theories about what kind of cataclysmic events or black swan events that they may be preparing for, and perhaps the introduction of these Optimus kind of robots, and also a little bit of the more kind of biologics that they have been teasing us with now too. Perhaps that's a little bit more in line to replace us for one reason or another. Right. Yeah. So I understand what you're saying there. There's already been little inklings of that recently that have gotten people, their imaginations running wild.
Have you ever read H.G. Wells?
No, not.
Most everybody remembers
in high school.
Well, H.G. Wells, War of the Worlds, everybody knows.
Yeah.
But who was H.G. Wells? Do you know what his history was, his background?
He wasn't he part? Isn't he?
I'm not putting you on the spot. He was one of the 12 wise men. Look at him in Oxford. He was one of the 12 wise men. There, he's in the stained glass in the wall in the main hall in the main facility. Okay. Do you know that H.G. Wells wrote science fiction? That's what we all remember, right?
Yes, but he was an apologist.
But for every work of for every work of science fiction, he was also writing 3 to 5 books on social engineering.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. That's why he was one of the 12 wise men. He was considered the wild card. He was the propagandist for basically the old school of the Hegelian dialectic complex. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis, create the problem, demonstrate the problem, come up with a solution people otherwise wouldn't accept. But H.G. Wells, look at the time machine. What you just described, what is everybody doing? Looking for a rock to crawl under? Well, what were the Morlocks in H.G. Wells' not War of the Worlds, forgive me, Time Machine. God, I said War of the Worlds, didn't I? Time Machine. Who were the Morlocks? And here's a question. Do you think this is the first merry-go-round like this in the annals of humanity? I don't think it is. I think this has been an ongoing thing that those in the know understand, and if they create it and they fail, they know how to not necessarily reset, but maybe slide sideways.
I had this conversation with my friend and frequent guest Jay Dyer, and he put H.G. Wells, whatever I do know about him, as an apologist to this kind of new world order, transhumanist kind of thinking, yes, in the same group as Aldous Huxley, who wrote Brave New World. That most people thought it was like a warning that we should stop, but he's actually part of the intelligentsia that were almost bragging about what is coming and how it's all going to be done.
Well, how do you create outer party members? You have to recruit them. When you have a vocabulary, in that day it was paperback and or pulp books. That was the equivalent to what we do now with internet or what we've done with television, radio, and movies. We moved into radio, that was first. We then moved into video-audio combination, and each construct does two things. Keeps us busy, the ones that they feel are the unwashed, but it also provides a venue to recruit, to create the minions, the legion that you need to get the job done. You do this by demonstrating, by using a key phrase or word, putting it into the population, the environment, but doing it in such a way that you and me aren't supposed to understand. But when another butt buddy is sitting there with an echolight that he's trying to recruit, did you see what he said? What? He said sea change. Well, yeah, he did say sea change. Well, what does that mean? I've done this. I worked at the University of Michigan. I'd have 40 students sitting there in a public area, and he would say sea change. I said, what did he just say? And everybody go to brain fart. And I said, well, okay, think. Do any of you know what sea change means? 8 o'clock. Nope. Nobody does. Okay, well, I got to let you go. I got to do my program. Okay, I'm going to get out of here.
Okay. Mark,
God bless.
Please email me, Mark, please.
I will. I'll let you know what's been going on.
Okay.
God bless.
Thank you. Take care.
Keep up the good work.
Well, you too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I can hear him getting called in the background. Mark, it's 8 o'clock. All right. Well, there's Mark Kernke. A lot of people, from the first time that Mark called in, we knew we had to get him on the show for a full night to learn about his career and all the things that he's seen and the people he's worked with, the projects he's been on. But I have been following up. I don't drop the ball on stuff like this, ladies and gentlemen. I don't drop the ball. So it sounds like that'll happen again. Well, that's a great way of tying up the first hour. Let's talk about that and some more in the second hour. We're going to take a really quick break. When we come back, I want to introduce perhaps a pro-life, pro-human side of this kind of science. Some people would say, no, it's all the same thing with the IVF. But I don't know. I think there's more than one way to look at this, and I definitely want to add it into the mix. Because whereas there are people out there trying to tell us that we need to forsake all rules to be able to bring back useless creatures, there are people right now who are trying everything they can to become parents. Human parents, right now, right here, where we're supposed to be, in our home on Earth. So I want to talk about that, and that'll be coming up after this really quick break. And I just want to remind you before we go, if you, I'd like to take a moment to encourage your voluntary and free market support of independent media. That includes this show. You can go to the Sponsor Us tab on quitefrankly.tv. And on Monday, or tomorrow night, we're giving away, and if you send a super chat to quitefranklysuperchat.com or the Rumble Rants, I'm taking all of those Rumble Rants and super chats from this entire week. And tomorrow night, we're giving away Jane Barlow's book. It is the field guide to ultimate. They utilize 94 of the world's most healing plants. Be your own shaman. It's fantastic. That'll be for tomorrow. But for all of you monthly sponsors, this month we're giving away two things, and it's going to be generated from all of the people who are sponsors of the show. We're going to be giving away a full bag of Keto Brainz. We're giving away 2 ounces of silver. We're giving away some coffee and some chocolate. The Quite Frankly Elevation Blend coffee, the Yes Cacao chocolates. I'm giving away some Yes Cacao stash and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that all happens. If you become a sponsor, you get in. Not only you get all of the universal perks, but this month we're doing 2 sponsor giveaways. So wherever you are, monthly sponsor, you're in those runnings no matter what. And I think Molly from Keto Brainz might actually even be calling in to give that one, to announce the name that night. That'll be a good one. And thanks to Tony from Wise Wolf giving the silver for this, and more on the other side of the intermission. Don't go anywhere, because this is getting good.
Welcome to intermission. Intermission.
Evil, I just misunderstood.
Okay. Let's see. Let's get to some super chats, get those out of the way so that we are all caught up with that. Jay Brits, thank you so much. Jay Brits just saying hello on quitefranklysuperchat.com. Over on Rumble, we have Hey Would You Blow Me says, for the Woolly Frank Fund, this is a tip, don't report it. I'm not going to report it. I'm going to have to. Jay Semo, oh, and by the way, I have plenty of feedback from last night with Brandon Joe Williams. Not only that, but I'm going to be bringing Brandon back on for part 2 because there's so much left on the tape. So much. 90 minutes. I thought we were going to be able to get a lot farther in 90 minutes. And I hate having to be that abrupt toward the end, but was trying like hell to get a lot in there. But there's a lot there, including your emails afterwards that I have some responses to. So maybe tomorrow we can do a little bit on that. Maybe later on. I don't know. I don't want to put too much in tonight, but I'm saving all of your best comments for and against, whatever it is. Good stuff after last night, and there'll be more on that end. Jay Semo says, cloning might be a way Democrats can replace the loss of illegals in voting blocks. Oh. Anyway, I'm proud of my bald head also. We save a lot of dough on haircuts. You know, I have I know somebody who pays the barber regularly to have his head shaved. There's something, listen, the culture of barbershops goes beyond whether or not you have a really good head of hair. I tried getting, I tried multiple barbershops in my life especially when I had a lot more hair. But even when I just wanted it shaved, sometimes you just find a place you like hanging out. And I haven't done any of that in many, not since college. So I just shave on my own. I got the Freebird. I have one Remington that gets it down pretty decently short. And then the Freebird comes in and just boom. But the first time I used the Freebird, I told Lauren, you know what? I've been seeing this thing advertised on like Instagram or something. Every once in a while, the advertisements work. I go, you know what? I should try something like this. She got it for me for my birthday, the Freebird. She got it for me for my birthday last year, 2024. And the first time I did the shave, where, it has like the 5 spinning blades. The first time I did that, and I ran my head over my skull, I said, whoa, this is weird. And then I went in for a shower, and I let the hair, the water hit my scalp. And I said, whoa, that's weird. And then, final thing was putting my head on my pillow, and that was weird. I wish I can recapture those first shave feelings. Now I'm just used to it all. It's not as exciting to put my head on the pillow anymore. So I sleep standing up. All right, let's see, what else do I have? I have a little bit more over on Quite Frankly.tv, powered by Pilled.net. Let's see what people are saying in there. Doug Simi, thank you so much. Love Bomb Kapow from Safety Net 820. Doug Simi, Sean Joe, Paulie9363 says, I believe Dr. Joseph Mengele was cloning humans long before Dolly the sheep. Yes, the Japanese were doing some stuff too. Doug Simi, Safety Net 820, again says, no thing that matters is made of matter, so literally nothing matters. God is love and love is God. One love, signed Lynn. I appreciate you guys. Okay. Also, I have another birthday here from Kelly. Kelly from Louisiana, cherished friend of the show, wants to wish her late husband a happy birthday. Happy 56th birthday to my beloved Robert John, says Kelly. Thank you for being everything I dreamed a husband would be. All my love, now and forever, Kelly. And she really is wonderful. She often is in the chat rooms and just fantastic. Really is great. Those of you who know, you know. Okay, let's see. First thing up, because I want to go down to the pro-life side, or should I say pro-human side of things. Let's do that right now so that we can just start taking calls about all that. You can call in on the Mammoth. You can call in on IVF. You can call in on something that ties them both together, whatever the hell it is. Let me just give you the second topic so that we can just concentrate on you. All right. Gateway Pundit. This is where it started on February 18th. Trump signs executive order to expand and reduce costs of IVF, aiming to make fertility treatments more accessible for American families. President Donald Trump signed an executive order aimed at expanding access to in vitro fertilization and significantly reducing its associated costs. This action underscores the administration's commitment to supporting family formation and addressing the nation's declining fertility rates. The executive order mandates the Domestic Policy Council to present a comprehensive report within 90 days detailing strategies to ensure reliable access to IVF and proposing measures to alleviate the financial burdens on aspiring parents. Currently, the cost of IVF can range from $12,000 to $25,000 per cycle, with many couples requiring multiple cycles to achieve a successful pregnancy, according to the White House. Now, as far as what this sparked online, and this is about, it's presented as, hey, let's get the fertility, let's address the fertility issue and also our population is also let's address the fact that these are insanely costly procedures. But online, it started going into more moral and ethical places. And I had to go and see. I said, what are the ethical objections to this? And here's what I came up with. And I have people who have written into the show on this, so I want to get some of your messages as well as your calls. Number one, presented, here's a breakdown of some common concerns. And of course, there's another thing that I compiled through Grok, just real quick. Embryo status and destruction. One major objection centers on the moral status of embryos. Critics, often from religious to pro-life perspectives, argue that embryos are human beings with rights from conception. In IVF, multiple embryos are typically created and not all are implanted. Unused embryos may be discarded, stored indefinitely, or donated for research, which some see as equivalent to ending potential human lives. I said, oh, I didn't know this was a batch thing. I thought that it was one fertilized egg implanted at a time. I didn't know that this was, and then, I started learning more. Commodification of life is another thing that people object to. The process of IVF involves selecting embryos based on genetic health or desired traits via implantation genetic diagnosis. Critics argue that this reduces human life to a product where embryos are chosen or rejected like consumer goods, potentially devaluing inherent human dignity. Others say it's playing God. Some religious and philosophical viewpoints assert that IVF interferes with natural conception, overstepping divine or natural order. The artificial creation and manipulation of life in a lab setting can be seen as humans being taken control over the processes that should be left to chance or higher powers. There's health risks and exploitation. Emotional toll on women undergoing IVF, including hormone treatments and egg retrieval. Inequity in access, I guess that has to do with how expensive it all is. Multiple births and selective reduction. IVF often results in multiple pregnancies, twins, triplets, etc., which can pose health risks to both mother and babies. In some cases, selective reduction, aborting one or more fetuses, is recommended, raising additional ethical concerns about ending viable pregnancies. That's awful. So that there's some there. There's just a little bit. Now, first thing I ask myself is, all right, so is there some way, is there a way to say, hey, listen, I want to put 3 eggs. I wanted to put 3 embryos into me, see what takes. If I have triplets, I have triplets. I have twins. If I just have one, whatever. Is it possible? Can people just go in there and implant exactly the amount that was taken in the first place? Or do they have to do much more than what they implant? I know it's a financial risk or whatever, but 3, hoping for 3, I don't know. Is there not, how can there not be a way to just say, all right, well, we're taking 3, we're fertilizing 3, and we're going to be implanting 3. That's it. And even if you save one so that you can try to implant a second one after you have a first successful birth, then that's what I'm just trying to think of. Nothing being wasted, nothing being destroyed. If that can be done, then I don't know why would that be a bad thing? You have a mother and a father trying everything. And if this could actually work, I don't see that but here's the thing. It is a matter of life and death. It's human life, so we're a lot more attached to it, and we want more babies in the world. And I guess it all comes down to, is it extinct? No. The mammoth is extinct. But is it still on the level of playing God? who knows what the motive for the mammal, the mammoth is? Who knows what the motive for the mammoth is? But you're still going above and beyond what nature would allow in one instance. And I understand that nature allows for men and women to have babies. It's just individuals have problems. But in that respect, to be able to help push somebody beyond what their body can naturally give you, if it results in successful pregnancies and mother and fatherhood being established, then honestly, if as long as embryos aren't being just discarded and thrown away as medical waste, or ending up in some kind of a laboratory somewhere for some kind of ulterior purpose or whatever, I don't see an issue with it. I want to hear from you guys though, and I already have in a few ways. Here's one. This is from Aaron. This was just sent in to me. Said, Frank, just emailing you for tonight's episode on IVF. My twin sister and I are IVF babies. My mom is a devout Catholic, and when my parents looked into IVF, my mom was hesitant because of her Catholic views. The first mainstream doctor that they went to laughed when she only wanted to create 2 fertilized eggs. They said it was a 50% chance that it would be successful. Most doctors will make hundreds of eggs and freeze them. She finally found someone that would only take 3. Okay. 1 did not survive, and me and my twin sister were born. In the eyes of the Catholic Church, it's still wrong, but I believe that is the most moral way to do it. The other thing that troubles me is when all of these fertilized eggs are being frozen and then discarded. Are they really being discarded? Or are they being, where are they ending up? Food for thought. Looking forward to tonight's show, Aaron. Well, that answers a question. Aaron's mother said she was probably going into this saying, if I have triplets, then thank you, God, for making this possible. And some smug atheists out there would probably say, why are you thanking God when it was science that was the only determining factor of bringing this child into the world? That would be brought up. If I was managing a panel of people over here that was coming at this from different standpoints, where would you be on the subject? 914-200-0269. Please call in. It's essential that you do. Let's go and let's take in a Discord call. Hey, Puffy, are you there? Puffy.
Hey, Frank, man.
Hey,
you there, man?
Oh, I hear you. So you're on topic tonight. What do you want to talk about, the Mammoth or the IVF?
Well, man, I'll tell you what, man. I don't know too much about the in vitro fertilization and whatnot that you talk about there. All I know is that way things are going out there on the singles market, God knows there's going to be a whole lot more of it, man. So I think everyone better just make their peace with it, man.
Well, it's I understand it's all hands on deck right now. There's a lot of people trying to have children. I really do believe, and it's probably a very complex situation, the fertility issue. Men and women are having fertility issues right now. We know that there's like a sperm count decrease. But
oh, yeah, man, it's because of the plastic, man. That's why we put Bobby up in there, man. He going to go in there, man. I'm hoping he goes up in there, and he takes care of all that, gives it the old big bamboo bop, and then, it's going to get taken care of, man.
Well, thank you, Puffy. It's good to hear from you.
All right, man. Well, hold on, man. I want to talk about the mammoths, man.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Well, listen here, man. I tell you what, obviously it's a problem, man. I mean, every one of them Frank folks is out there right now. I mean, they can see the wisdom and how this ain't a good idea. Shit. Anyone seen Jurassic Park?
I was going to say that.
It ain't a good idea, damn it, man. We all know. All right, we go. But I'm going to tell you, man, there's one part of this here we got to be especially careful of, Frank, all right, that you didn't mention. I want to make sure people is aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's weaponized cuteness, Frank. Did you see them little mousies?
The mouse with the hair using.
It's weaponized cuteness.
The fact that there's a mouse out there that can use suave hair products, but I can't, really makes me upset.
Well, and shit, that's making me angry too, Frank. I got to be real honest with you, but I mean, it's dangerous because even folk like us that know, hey, This leads to Jurassic Park, man. All roads lead to Jurassic Park. Oh, but you know what? There's a cute little baby mammoth mouse. Oh, and then you start thinking about it. You start doubting it. You know what I mean, man?
I do, Puffy. I really do, and it's been real. It really has. Thank you so much. Thank you. You got to call in more often, please. Not only that, but I hope that RFK can get up in there as well, man. RFK is getting up in everything. So let's hope that he gets in there too. Gets inside the mammoths and inside of everything else. Let's take another call. 778, you're on the air. Go ahead. Blurble? Hello? Yeah, well, maybe next time. Here's another one for you. Hey, Frank. I heard you mention IVF on the coffee stream this morning, so I collected this. As I happen to be home from work today, I feel that this is a happy coincidence. It's just more evidence of God's hand in the process. We are currently in the midst of our first IVF cycle, so I figured I'd share our story with you. We tried to conceive for almost 2 years with no success before we got my husband tested to see if there was an issue on his end. Turned out that my husband's testing revealed he didn't have any sperm. Being an Iraq war veteran, he wanted to know if his exposures overseas caused his fertility issue, as they had already caused other physical ailments that he has. So he opted for biopsies and tests. As part of the biopsy, they look for viable sperm, and if any are found, they freeze them. They did find some, so we were approved for IVF through the VA, as they determined this issue was service-connected. I started on medications for my egg retrieval in mid-January and had my retrieval 2 days before my 40th birthday. We had 12 eggs retrieved and 9 were mature. 7 ended up fertilized. They monitored them for 6 days and we ended up with 3 good quality embryos that were frozen. I picked up the remaining embryos that did not make it to maturity, and we have plans to honor them by burying them with a new fruit tree in our yard this spring. We did not want them discarded like medical waste. My husband and I agreed that we would not do any genetic testing. Not only could it potentially destroy the embryo, it isn't always accurate, and it isn't something that we felt comfortable with in terms of choosing to destroy life based on genetics. So I'm going to start medications to start the cycle for an embryo transfer next week. And the doctor has explained that based on my age, there's a 25 to 30% chance of success. We will be transferring 1 embryo at a time, even though at my age, the doctor said we could do more. Transferring more than 1 is potentially riskier for both babies and mother, but has a higher chance of success, and given the high success rate is less emotionally taxing than the transferring of 1 at a time. I know that there aren't any guarantees through this process, and I know that since our embryos are untested, this could be 3 rounds of devastating loss. But I've seen some of the latest outrage over IVF with Trump's EO from the pro-life community, which I always considered myself a part of. I can understand some of their arguments, and I do believe a lot of people doing IVF treat it without the respect and care that it deserves, and they callously destroy their embryos or donate them to science without a second thought. I've seen statistics that only 7% of IVF embryos are born. And while that could be true, IVF also gives a chance to embryos that would not necessarily have made it to birth, if not nurtured in a lab environment first. There's also no correlating statistic on the natural side of things. How many embryos are created that never implant or are miscarried before the woman even knew that she was pregnant? There's no way to measure that natural number, but with IVF, you can, which makes it an easy target for criticism. Throughout this process, we have prayed, researched, and have made decisions that we feel are morally and ethically just and respectful of the life we created. IVF has been emotionally and physically challenging, but we do believe that God has been with us and guiding us through every step of the journey, and we believe he will continue to do so. All the best to you and yours, Minnie and Gregor. So I thought that was a wonderful that I got a couple of days ago. I knew it was going to be a good one for tonight. And it sounds like there's just so many choices that can be made along the way that really do start degrading the respect for life in the process. But there's also, of course, the opposite to that is making choices that really do respect the process, and there is no waste and there is no destruction. Who knows? Let's take a call. 850, you're on the air.
Hey, it's Wild Man.
Hey, what's going on, Wild Man? So what do you got tonight? We have two topics, but they're both kind of related.
Yeah, the whole thing, but it reminded me of a joke about the bear and the rabbit taking a shit in the woods, and the bear looks at the rabbit and says, "You have a problem with shit sticking to your fur?" And the rabbit says no, so the bear wipes his ass at the rabbit. It makes me wonder if those furry mice weren't made for Richard Gere.
Yeah, I know. I wonder, what the hell is this mouse going to do? He's either going to get a modeling career or he's going to be, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, just trying to lighten the mood, but always appreciate your show, and thanks for taking my call, Frank.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much, sir.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Okay. 907. John, go ahead.
Hey, Frank, this is Britt.
Sorry, Brett. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to bring up a different IVF option. So I got married in 2013, and me and my husband barely even talked about kids. And I got diagnosed with cancer, and I had like 2 weeks. We literally had like 2 weeks to decide if we were going to do IVF, like keep some embryos or not. It was very fast. I didn't even know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up saving some, like 8 of them. And about 6 years later, we unfortunately got a divorce. But I grew up in the church, and my dad's a pastor. He never said anything to me. I never felt guilty or even no thought of killing babies when I was doing this. So I don't know. Only recently it kind of came up with everything that I started kind of thinking about it in hindsight.
Well, from what I've been reading, there does seem to be some practices that are a little bit more, I don't know, I would say callous, a little bit more careless, I should say, careless. But then there are also people that I'm either hearing from directly or reading in comment sections that went into that situation, they want to become parents, and they see that they feel like time is running out and that there's something is not right. And if they can go into this with a mind on being ethical and moral in every respect and being pro-life through and through, then the worst thing that could happen is that the embryos fail like they have been naturally. And the best thing that can happen is that life that wasn't being created otherwise comes into the world. And you come here with a really interesting situation where it was almost like a get to the lifeboat situation when you knew that you had to go and treat yourself and recover from cancer. What do do you want to be able to save some eggs? Was that a chemotherapy consideration, or was it the type of cancer you had? I'm sorry to pry. I'm just wondering.
No, it's cool. Yeah, they were just going to remove all the necessary equipment.
Okay.
I couldn't have any anyways, but yeah, not only that, it was very expensive to keep them frozen, even with a discount, the cancer discount or whatever.
Wow.
So it was like years of paying about $1,000 a year just to keep them frozen. And then they were also embryos, so it wasn't just my eggs. It was me and my now ex-husband. So I'm not going to have his baby with somebody else. So
right.
We signed paperwork, and it was all right. Goodbye. Like, it was very weird just to kind of get rid of the eggs in hindsight, or the embryos in hindsight. But yeah. I believe God knows everybody's heart, and there are situations that are completely out of our control sometimes, and everything can be used for evil, but they can also be used for good. So
I guess you can't go into a marriage expecting to be divorced, or else obviously in hindsight you might have just said, let's just save the eggs and we'll talk about the embryos some other time.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, I really appreciate you calling in and sharing your story. It's very valuable.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Frank.
Okay, take care. Have a good one. All right, there you have a little bit on that. A little bit on that end. 914-200-0269. 914-200-0269. Federal government provides limited IVF coverage for military personnel, veterans, and federal employees, leaving a large gap in support for the general public. All data from the Department of Health and Human Services indicates that more than 85,000 infants were born as a result of IVF in 2021 alone. However, the U.S. fertility rate experienced a 3% drop in 2023 compared to 2022, continuing a trend of annual decreases since 2014. A lot of that is cultural, but there is something going on environmentally, something serious. And plastics could definitely be a part of it. It's probably part of the entire spectrum of what's going on. Anyway, let's take another call. 778. Go ahead, BC. Going once.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello, is this Frank?
Yes, it is. Please cut the stream in the background and go right ahead.
Okay, I'm just going to do that.
No problem.
All right, that's good. You can hear me?
I can hear you great. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, this is the gal that phoned in about giving birth in the barn.
Oh, yes. Oh, but please do me a favor and either speak a little bit louder, or if you're on speakerphone, get rid of that.
Okay, is this all right?
That's a lot better. Okay, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, my name is Teresa Wild, and I love listening to your show, and I always have some feedback, and I wish I could get through, but every once in a while I get through, so that's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for answering.
And I'm excited about what you have to say. Last time you called in, we got taken on a wild ride, and I loved it.
Well, I've got plenty of stories, but I'm really interested in the Mammoth issue, so I'm going to talk on topic.
Great, go right ahead.
So, have you covered just how long ago the mammoths disappeared?
No, they're talking in this particular article. They're talking about samples that have been, dated to anywhere from 3,500 years ago to a obscene 1.2 million. So yeah.
So they were around for millions of years, and they wandered all over North America and Northern Asia. And they abruptly disappeared with the Younger Dryas event, which happened at 12,500, something like that, years ago, not very long ago. And they wandered all around, and humans were around, and they were hunting these mammoths. And it was, hunting a mammoth with the tribe. That gave everybody lots of meat to eat for a long time. They were really, they coexisted. The humans and the mammoths. And when the Younger Dryas event happened, it's pretty much agreed by the scientists that was caused by an asteroid hit or a comet hit that broke up and melted the ice sheets really quickly. And it wiped out a whole lot of the humans that lived here in North America, but it wiped out 50% of the megafauna that lived on Earth at the time. The ones that have survived are mostly in Africa, the big guys in Africa,
Yeah.
But there's a few megafauna that survived here, but then the mammoths and all the saber-toothed tigers and all that, they were all wiped out really suddenly. So they found these mammoth skeletons and remains all mixed up with logs and stones and mud, and obviously they were killed off in huge numbers all of a sudden. And humans started actually mining these piles of bones and stuff back in the day when they were hunting for ivory, and they found these windrows of huge just remains of tusks and bones and everything all broken up. Like, it was obviously a huge cataclysm. So the fact that they're finding these things and they're considering culturing the DNA of these things and seeing if they can bring them back, it's kind of cool because they're pretty recent, and there's no way that this is anything like the Jurassic Park thing. I mean, the humans were not around during the dinosaurs, but humans were around during these megafauna, Ice Age megafauna, And, I mean, they can't really wander around free like they used to.
So then,
because there's so many humans around.
Let me ask you this: why not bring back the dodo bird then? I mean, that's something that's that's 19th century. It's again a public nuisance. Get kicked around a lot, and they're just gone. Well, why not the dodo bird? Why some massive thing that again? There's moral hazard questions. There's also questions about, like we had brought up before, the objections about it's coming into an environment it was not built for. It's not even a complete replica genetically of what it was when it was around the first time. And how does it react to this alien world it suddenly finds itself in? So I understand what you're saying, but why not something a little bit more, the condor or the dodo bird?
Yeah, well, awesome questions. I'm not working with the genetics scientifically, so this is just an idea, right? But I think, why not bring back the dodo bird? They were big and meaty, and they probably are extinct because they were good to eat. If they've got the DNA to work with, I don't have a problem with bringing back the dodo or some of those other great big birds that existed up to just recently. But I think it would be a really interesting thing. There's tons of room here in Canada for mammoths.
Okay.
And, if you wanted to cultivate a bunch of mammoths, they can wander around up there in peace, and, they can put some restrictions on hunting them and see what happens.
Yeah.
It really wasn't that long ago when they disappeared. So anyway, that's my little thing about bringing back this thing. I really would not be interested in seeing T-Rexes.
Right. Well, I appreciate the passion on this. You're very passionate about the mammoth, and I hope that if they do come back, they're given some large swath of land in northern Canada where there's nothing there, and they're able to try out that luscious coat of fur or hair, I should say, shaggy hair, looks like Snuffleupagus. Thanks for the call again.
Yeah, we could maybe even keep them close by, domesticate them, and comb their hair out and spin it, and we'd have a really nice wool.
Oh yeah, I know.
Who knows?
Yeah,
Anyway, Frank, it's lovely to talk with you again. I had a couple more birth stories I wanted to share with you, but I wasn't able to get through. But hopefully, my name's Teresa Wild, and I would love to share with you again sometime.
Well, I mean, you just keep calling in, and you'll eventually get in there. And if it's something that is really time sensitive that you want to submit to the show, please just shoot me a really quick email, and maybe it's something I can read on air. And this goes to everybody out there. If you have a really interesting guest, or if you think you would be an interesting guest about one thing or another, a story you want to tell, a tall tale, something crazy. Get in touch with me, because it's either something I'd be able to quickly read in a grab bag section on the air, or if it really is fantastical, I'll just say, okay, are you free on Thursday night? Can you call in for 20 minutes? So, just pitch me. Go ahead.
On. Yeah, Joe Mooney was awesome, and I really enjoyed that show with him. And it struck all kinds of things about homesteading issues that I wanted to talk to you about, but I missed that one. So, yeah, we'll keep in touch, and I'll email you.
All right.
Sure.
Have a good night. Thank you so much. Be well. Yes. Can you imagine the Westminster Dog Show has a new woolly mouse and woolly mammoth because of the hair? It's so regal. That would be incredible. What is that? Is that Thanksgiving morning that they have the dog show? Right after the parade, the dog show starts up? I don't think it's Westminster anymore. I think it's like Purina. They lost the advertising rights for the day or something like that. Let's see here. The dodo bird. Discovery and habit. The dodo was first encountered by Dutch sailors in 1598. The isolated island in the Indian Ocean, Mauritius. It evolved in an environment with no natural predators, making it fearless and ill-equipped for changes human beings would bring. The bird stood about 3 feet tall, had a large beak, and relied on the island's abundant fruit and nesting sites. So settlers cleared forests for agriculture and settlements, shrinking the dodo's natural habitat. The reduced food availability and nesting opportunities put further pressure on the species, and then rapid decline. Fear toward humans, the lack of fear toward humans made them easy to catch, and its ground nesting habits left it vulnerable to introduction of predators. While overhunting played a role, the destruction of the ecosystem likely accelerated its demise. And extinction confirmed. By the late 17th century, the dodo had vanished. Oh, 17th century. I thought that was you could still find a few in the 1800s. Well, no complete specimens survive, only bones, partial skeletons, and contemporary sketches remain. Its extinction wasn't fully recognized until much later as it became a symbol of human-induced lost biodiversity. We've got to bring it back. Got to bring it back. New York City needs dodo birds. I want to see, you want to talk about the fearlessness of New York City birds, the pigeons out there? They don't even fear cars. I once saw a pigeon get so close to being run over by a taxi that the tires of the passing yellow cab nicked its wings and actually caused it to tumble. And then it tumbled like further into the street, and another yellow cab comes by. It stood up, turned itself just like maybe a half an inch to the right again, and then again got nicked again, but then just like slowly started walking, like disinterested. Doesn't care that it almost got killed twice. So I would love to see a mix of New York City pigeons, rats, and dodo birds living together in harmony. I didn't know that. I remember going to the Museum of Natural History and seeing a dodo bird. I thought it was a stuffed dodo bird. I thought it was taxidermy because I thought it was more recent. I guess it was a recreation. Where the hell does the dodo bird look? Where is he again? Yeah, this is the... Let me get this up on the screen. This is one of the recreations. I saw something like that at the Museum of Natural History once. I know I did. And now, I don't trust anybody. I've been lied to by the museum. It was some stuffed animal that somebody made in Vietnam. It wasn't even real. Damn, that's what these things looked like? Fucking weird. At this thing walking around. Take a look at this. Look at that. Look at those things. That's an artist rendering, of course. It could all be lies. Oh my gosh. Anyway. All right, let's go back to the calls for a couple. Actually, let's take a really quick break. We'll be right back.
Jump down, and then say some fucking gay shit. I'm gay.
Sensei? Everything all right?
We're all gonna die, Ken. We're all gonna die.
Welcome to your Perpetual Health Minute, brought to you by Quite Frankly. Has anybody ever told you that cows cause climate change? On your screen, you're looking at the EPA's own data from their website. And what do you notice? This is greenhouse gas emissions broken down by sector. And if you look closely, you'll see that agriculture only represents 11% of greenhouse gas emissions, and that was in 2020. If you move to 2022, the number is down to 10%. And of that 10%, there's actually more of a contribution from crop cultivation than animal agriculture. So the next time somebody tells you cows cause climate change, tell them, show me the data. Because when they do, a very different picture starts to emerge. If you like this video, please follow the new Perpetual Health Rumble channel. You can also find us at perpetualhealth.substack.com. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Back to the show.
Okay. Let's take a call, shall we? All right, caller, you are on the air. 503, go ahead.
Hey, is this Frank?
Yeah, it's you again, isn't it?
It's me. It's Dean from Portland, Oregon.
How you doing, Dean? How you feeling?
I'm doing all right. I'm feeling pretty good. Just got off work. Hey, I just want to give you a quick call and tell you that your guest last night, besides taking up all your time, was just a huge waste of time. I hate that shit. But I'm glad you took him on anyway.
But wait a second. Wait. Okay. So now this is, I don't want to overlook this because I knew that it was going to take up most of the episode. I thought I'd have a little bit of time left, but I realized, okay, I just have to give him as much as we can. But you know, I wanted that extra time because I wanted to get calls like this. I wanted to hear people that were loving it, that weren't having it, and I wanted to hear both. So, I mean, you go right ahead and give me some encapsulated thoughts if you want, but I just want to let you know I want to get around to all the feedback that I got about last night at some point.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for the time. I'll make it brief because I really respect your show, and I just love you, Frank. It's actually my first time calling, and I got right through. Can you believe that?
Can you imagine that?
Crazy world. I love it. So the straw man thing, dude, it's a complete waste of time. It's a ditch. It's a dead end. It sounds good. I fell for it for a number of years. I did a lot of research, wasted a lot of time. And there's a lot of people who've done the same thing, and very, very few individuals can actually walk around as a so-called sovereign citizen. The whole thing is just it's an oxymoron. It's a contradiction in terms, because here you're rejecting this formal government, but you don't want to leave, and you want to enjoy all the privileges of living in this beautiful country that we call America, or whatever you call it. But you don't want to be a part of it. You don't want to be represented by it. You don't want to be liable to it, but you're terrified of a felony. It just doesn't make any sense. If you reject the law, you reject the law, period.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I didn't understand the, and I guess technically I understand what you're saying about the felony for perjury and lying.
Yeah.
Because you can't be both things. You can't be a citizen and not a citizen. But let me just ask you, because we don't have too much time to get into this. At what point in your personal life, what happened that you said, okay, well, I've been trying this, and but I just can't take it anymore. Like what was the straw that broke the camel's back with your efforts to?
In any case, I don't know if you're still there or not, dude. But yeah, I don't know. There's no time for that. Dreaming about that kind of breakaway society thing is it's luxury thinking. We don't have time for luxury these days. There's no time for that.
Dean.
No judge, no lawyer is going to look at that seriously. And you're going to end up doing what? Spending your entire life emailing, awaiting document release, testifying in this non-court, non-citizen arena. It's just an absolute ditch, dude. It's a dead end, and it's no worse than the conservative radio people out there driving people into the same ditch. It's a waste of time. Reject it all completely.
Dean, you know what? That's something that I wanted to be able to bring up last night, and Dean's gone. It didn't sound like he heard me talking back to him the first time too. He probably thinks I ghosted him or something. I wanted to know, okay, well, if you were looking into this for a while, what was the point that you said, nah, I'm out? Because there are some things that I wanted to bring up that I will have to bring up on the next time we get together. I think I got him coming in. I think Brandon is going to be coming back in on April 9th. It's a Wednesday night. And I looked through a lot of his success stories because he posts a lot of the messages that come into him from people who are in his program. And a lot of people are saying, they'll say like, just they're going to court again a third time. I'm winning again today in court and something else. And it's like, okay, well, you're doing something. Something's happening here that I want to understand a little bit more. But the very random and seldom times that I'm called in for jury selection, I want to blow my brains out. If I was living a life that had me going in and out of courtrooms and pleading a case, and eventually you're going to hit a brick wall of some judge that just doesn't want to hear it. That's what I see. And then there's some other things there too I want to ask about with all these cars that everybody's getting for what seems to be free. Or I saw somebody saying I wrote in a note, what was it called? A something. I have to look at some sort of note that apparently is a really great way of getting out of paying loans that you take. So listen, I have to get it all together, and I want to bring all of your notes together too, because people have sent me some really great emails in the affirmative. I want those calls too. I definitely don't want to introduce it in the last 8 minutes of tonight's show. All right, let's take a buzz from 216. What's going on?
Hey, this is John. How you doing, Frank?
I'm doing well. So what's on your mind?
So I'll make it short and sweet. So from my understanding, code is not the law. And it's already been established that that all the code that everybody is following through the bar, which I'm sure another rabbit hole that everybody goes down, but the bar being the source of the problem in the United States, because all of the judges and all of the lawyers are really committing treason because they're swearing an oath to the bar and the crown, and that we've been underneath this foreign code, which it says, our founding fathers said, the law should be in plain English, not in code.
Right.
But yet
okay. And John, and here, and like I said, it's going to be a very, very deep subject for the last couple of minutes. So let me just say this. I understand what you're saying. And I always find the people who put all the research into this and all of the looking into this, when they lay it all out, and I understand what they're trying to pitch here. I look at it and I say, okay, all right, yeah. Well, hey, I think treason is the name of the game right now. I think that everybody has allegiances to something higher than the United States at this point, and the once republic. What is it? But at the same time, the 16th Amendment, 17th Amendment, the income tax, the central bank, whatever the hell it is. I have Chris Ann Hall's income tax blogs ready to go. Maybe we'll do it on the first night of the week next week or something. But it's like COVID and the masks. You remember we were saying COVID and the masks? If you got to go places, just remember, it's one thing to have a group of people who are determined, a large group of people who are determined to say to hell with the law, and we are going to stick together. We're not going to do this. We're not wearing the masks. We're not doing anything like that. And I told you guys then too, I said, when you're out there all alone, you're walking into CVS, you're not going to make a stand in CVS against the corporate policy, which of course is backed up at that point by the media and the federal government and everything else that's going on at the time, and all of the people around you who are the ticket to breaking apart this illusion of authority. The people around you waking up is the ticket to breaking this Nightmare on Elm Street illusion of authority. And until you got that, you're one person without a mask on who may very well be barred from going to shop at a place that you probably need to keep shopping at. You're not changing anything, but you're getting yourself, that's the whole thing. So whereas I like learning about this, I also balance that out with, okay, well, am I going to, what kind of bureaucratic hell am I going to be in for the rest of my life? I had somebody call in, right into me, say, I've been living very happily the last 2 years. I haven't paid any income tax, and I really don't think that that the government would go after a small fish like me either. And I'm like, okay, so we have to relegate ourselves to being small fish for the rest of our lives, or being unassuming and what, so that the eye of Sauron doesn't, like, who gets made an example out of? Because It just sounds like a lot of work to upkeep, and did not want to do this in the last 10 minutes. And of course, I took the first call, and then the second call came in immediately. So we're just going to end the show right here because I want to preserve what was a very, very fantastic, focused discussion tonight. And I'm looking forward to the other discussion, the tax discussion to be revisited probably next week. In fact, what do I have on the calendar over here? And then we'll see what's on the, hold on a second. Sorry, I'm making everything shake. So Saturday the 8th, we're live on the 8th. I don't got anything on Monday the 10th. So we'll probably come back and do some headlines on Monday, and we can revisit this. We can talk about the income tax, and I'll save my thread over here. Which tax do you find to be the most morally reprehensible of all? I put this out on Twitter, and I got a good amount of attention. Nice amount of attention. Nearly 200 responses, and I have to imagine that a lot of them are duplicates because you can only go so far. And there are worse tax than others. No, they're all terrible. But anyway, I've appreciated every moment with you guys tonight. And after the show, here's what we got going on quitefrankly.tv. Are you ready? Here it is. We've got the Functional Human Podcast, episode 9 with Jay Gulanello and Daryl. You got to listen to them. Wonderful. That is exclusive on quitefrankly.tv. Tonight, when you get off, you're seeing something that nobody's seen before. It's premiering on the network. And then Jay will be in the studio tomorrow. So if there's anything in tonight's episode of the Functional Human Podcast that you want to ask Jay about tomorrow, because, we'll be doing a couple of fixed topics, but when the lines go open, free for all. So to hell with it. Tucker Carlson interviews Sam Bankman-Fried. Oh boy, he got access to that guy. Jim Lee banning chemtrails, how to win. And then Jimmy Corsetti interviews Ben Davidson. So you want to talk about Great Reset disasters. All of that on quitefrankly.tv tonight as soon as we stop talking over here right now. So head over, enjoy yourself. Let me make sure that I got everybody in. Stove, thank you for the super chat. Quite frankly, superchat.com. On Rumble, see, we're adding into the mix. I know Jay Semo is already on the running for the book over here. Hey, Would You Blow Me's in there now too. And we have somebody else. Where are they? Mo Howard 77 says, thanks for the great topics, Frank. Thank you, Mo. And now, because of your super chat, because of your Rumble rant, you are going to be in the running for this tomorrow. There you go. There you have it. And this is a big raffle right here because this is the first time that we've had people from Rumbles involved in those super chat raffles. So I'm glad to be able to have more of that going on. Thank you. The Sentinel, let's see. The Sentinel says, according to the Fed data, currently $1.55 trillion a year is paid to recipients for Social Security. Dividing by 12 and then $1,600 per month should solve for a number of beneficiaries. That is roughly 78 million beneficiaries. If 10% are fraudulent, then we could save $12.4 billion per month. Could definitely clean the oceans with that. But I don't want that spent. I want it back to us. Give it back to us. Give it back to us, please. And then it has to go away. Even if it is set up, there may be a nice, sustainable way for this to be set up, but it is not the function of government to be able to plan for somebody's retirement. If this is all being funded by income that we are producing over the course of a lifetime so that it will be waiting for us at the end of our lifetime, then can we all just be saving for retirement? No, if the money's left with me, then I'll spend it all. The government might as well just garnish your own wages. You can set up automatic deductions. You could set up go to a financial advisor, make it automatic. Stop. We have to take, that's something that we should all be taking responsibility for just because we're growing up, So I didn't look at it like that for a long time, but that's before I realized anything. C. Blanche and Sean Joe, thank you so very much. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And Jay Gulanello will be here, so it'll be a nice, fun evening. With that, my friends, have yourself a good time and a good evening on QuiteFrankly.tv or anywhere else. I'll talk to you soon.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite Frankly is filmed before a live studio audience. And now, our Super Chatters. Starring Stowstube and Jay Britz and all of our wonderful Rumble ranters and our gold pillars. I'm releasing the scratching right now. I'll see you on the other side, friends. Good evening.
Goodbye, my dearest. Toodaloo. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen. Ciao. Ding dao day.